Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Abez Show, where today we are hosting someone who I've worked with, started a business with, and a good friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce Richard Richie. Hey, Richard.
Woohoo! Thank you, Abe. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. And how's everything with you?
Yeah, good. Well, you know what? That question is a pertinent question. You ask anyone in business these days how they're doing, everyone's like, "Yeah, doing fine, doing fine." But is everyone doing fine? I don't know. So I'll be honest, business is tough right now.
Yeah, it is. It is very, very difficult. I can tell you on both an investor side and a personal, on a personal
Hmm.
side, it's when we used to complain about things,
Yeah.
no, those were the good old days, right? So Richard, tell me more about you, tell me more about your journey, and then tell me what you're doing now.
Look, I've spent all my life in sales or sales leadership to some extent. I've like the first job I had when I left university, for example, I was knocking on doors, changing people from one gas company to another. I was actually talking to someone about this the other day. It was a tough gig. Some days you'd say it was character building. Other days you'd say it was soul destroying. but yeah, so it started door to door. I've worked in telesales, I've worked in field sales. I've run, I built teams, scaled organizations, and now I run a recruitment organization here in the UAE that is primarily focused on sales and sales leadership. That's my bread and butter, right? That's what I know. I'm able to, I guess, vet candidates in a way that a lot of other people can't. I mean, you and I both know from when we used to work together a while back. I would be often pulled into to interviews for senior hires that weren't even in sales, where they were in different functions, and then the reason that was because I can sniff the BS, let's say, and I can qualify people in a way, and I guess that's probably because of my sales background, right?
Yeah, funny enough, my first job ever in university was a
Hmm.
door-to-door knife salesman.
Okay.
So
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
like kitchen sets, and it was definitely soul destroying. Definitely soul destroying. So the term "release the hounds" is
Yeah.
something that I've actually experienced. So that was not a fun little experience. But
Nice.
interesting enough. So let's talk more about your company, your recruitment
Yeah.
agency, and stuff like that. So um,
Hmm.
you started your business in COVID, and how are you seeing people react to your business, especially your in recruitment? And this is
Hmm.
something that is the first thing that people obviously slashed were recruiting, recruiters in general, and then hiring, and they were just trying to maintain how they can keep people employed, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So how are you seeing that right now?
Yeah, look, it's a good question actually, because like I said to you earlier on, the market is 100% tough right now. But I think it's been COVID to some extent has been fortunate for us because it's changed our strategy to some extent. And let me put it this way: when I started the business towards the end of 2019, it would have been very easy to have fallen into the kind of typical recruitment model that exists here within the UAE, and that is very transactional. Just send me a job description, I'll send you some roles. That's essentially what a lot of recruitment companies here do, and they charge like 8 to 10%, which is ridiculous. It's basically just commoditize the industry. Anyway, so what we've had to do is, because of the dry up of roles, if you like, over the last 18 months, is invest time building relationships with organizations long before they ever need our services. So obviously part of that is getting on the phone and calling people. Another part of that is, adding value way ahead of when there's a commercial arrangement in place. Value we're doing, we're creating webinars that with content specific to the industry that we're approaching, offering value like salary surveys, creating white papers, writing reports, all different things. I was on the phone with a client, or prospective client rather, earlier today. I've been talking to them for 9 months. they're excited to do business with us in the next few weeks because their headcount is now opening back up. But if COVID hadn't have happened, I probably wouldn't have nurtured that relationship in the way that I had. So, it's hard because it's been financially a tough period, but I think it's enabled us to lay the foundations in a way that will ensure when things do pick up, we're well placed to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I agree. And in saying that, where's my money?
About that.
No, that's I think that's I think a lot of companies and a lot of founders and a lot of managers use that time to build those relationships and build that rapport with either
Yeah.
employees or their clients, or nurturing a pipeline. I know we went through that, like at Startup Bootcamp and Rainmaking as well,
Yeah.
where we were talking to people, checking up on them, finding exactly more. It was just I loved what you say, that it was more of like a assembly line worth of, here's the JD, here's some candidates, let's do some business. While now it's, what I mean, like, tell me, what is your vision, where do you want to grow, let's work together achieving that. Like I'm the head of talent as well in the organization I'm working with. And obviously, when you're dealing with humans, there's no formula or a template, right? So it's all about building the relationship to find out how, what areas that person needs development on. And the same thing with the strategy, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just say, I want X amount of millions end of the year, or I want to be 20% profitable. No, there needs to be, and with strategy comes people.
There needs to be a degree of flexibility there as well, right? Because when things like the COVID happen, it derails you. Everybody gets derailed to some extent,
I agree. And setting expectations is another major thing. I think a lot of people, a lot of industries suffered obviously tremendously. I know some of them did grow, like the e-commerce business, but there was a lot of businesses that came to a halt. Hotels, tourism, all that. So
for sure.
So in saying that, like, I'm gonna ask you like a future question. Where do you see the trends? Where do you see with you, like, what are you working with that you're thinking that this is an industry that might drastically scale, or what industries are you think that are going into the abyss?
Sure. Look, I can tell you from a strategic standpoint, the areas we've decided to focus on, and we're kind of double downing on that this year: cybersecurity, cloud managed services, and AI. There are three focus areas, and then the companies that that service clients in those industries, right? So either provide cybersecurity services and solutions, or provide like a digital transformation services, like moving to the cloud, managing infrastructure that way as well. So they're those companies within our niche. We're looking to provide talent for these guys because those are those we've identified as growth markets. But everything we now do is focused entirely on serving that market.
And I would actually add to that as well, is because a lot of response have been on an entrepreneurship level, on an ecosystem level, been tackling the AI, the cybersecurity ones, the clouds, because people want to go to an environment where everything is hosted on the cloud, and cybersecurity is because you keep in mind that a lot of people in COVID who are not that internet savvy suddenly had to do everything online, from work to even grocery shopping, right? So
and that to some extent has stalled some companies. They're nervous to digitally transform because the cybersecurity is a minefield, right? There's so much of it, and everyone claims to have the best service or best solution in the market, but how do you know that, right? So that's one of the things we're looking to do at the moment. We're looking to not so much help people decide which cybersecurity vendors to work with, because the vendors are actually our prospective clients. We're looking to help vendors and service providers reach their market, but also, for example, we did a webinar just last week on it was entitled Cyber Speak for the Non-Geek. And it was essentially looking to translate, so because if you're in the risk, if you're a vendor, you're talking to people who could buy your product or services. If you're talking too technical, they don't really understand, and it's very easy for them to be intimidated. And an intimidated client is not a client. They
No.
will not buy from you. They'll be too confused.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I remember you had a very smart guest talk about digital transformation. I know I'm talking about myself on your podcast.
Yeah, that episode.
And I think we're gonna put the link in this video as well, so people
Yeah, for sure.
come back to. So, and we talked about this the whole how can people get to change their mindset and what's the pillars of digital transformation, because I got to be honest with you, yeah, a lot of the a lot of people had to pause through COVID and start thinking about things that they were nice to have, like digital transformation. Like a lot of these big businesses, have a website that is like a page that's been designed from the Stone Age, and they don't do anything. But now they had to move a lot of things digital, right? So, how do you go from that mentality to this one? And this was something that was very addressed in many webinars, and including the one you did.
Yeah.
I was speaking to like government entities and stuff like that. They say, "Oh, we're losing a lot of businesses." I think a lot of businesses that close down, and again, I'm generalizing, guys. Please don't destroy us in the comments. But a lot of them were like run off of one contract. Like a business was formed over a relationship, over one contract. And then that contract had to pause or whatever. And obviously, there's nothing else to do, and people are not gonna. They have to. There's no sinking or swimming there. When there's the reason why you have a build a business is because you have a variety of customers, and you diversify your income. You don't put your eggs in one basket, right? So,
like you say, it's good to start a business in that way because it gives you that kind of launch partner, if you like. But then beyond that, where do you go? It's just like launching any business. You maybe tap up your family and friends for maybe finance in the early days, or maybe to buy your product or service initially. But it only becomes real when you can go beyond them, right? When someone other than the people in your street are buying from you, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so let me address the elephant in the room, because both of us were used to be Divisolers, and we worked for Divisol. And, can I ask you, what, major great learnings did you learn from Divisol? Because I know, I only did 3 years at Divisol, but I know you were there, you were a pillar of.
I was there for 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah. And we saw some insane growth. Keep in mind, my relationship with Divisol was started 4 years before I even started at Divisol. I was on a vendor that with a lot of people. So I've been super close for 7 years in and out. What was the key golden learnings there?
It's actually quite interesting because this is ultimately what a lot of what I teach the cohorts with you at Startup Bootcamp, right? Because having lived through a startup, I was employee number 15. I left and we were about 200 in Divisol, about I think 5,000 globally as part of OLX. So I got to see the evolution, if you like, of a very young company to a global powerhouse. And there are decisions you make as a founder in the early days of a business just to get it moving. And I'm specifically now talking about the commercial part of the operation, right? So from a business development perspective, the way you mobilize your teams, let's say, commission plans, payment structures, contracts with clients, all these things, right? And there may well come a time when this thing has to be completely overhauled in order to allow your business to grow more sustainably. And that's one of the projects when I first moved into my director position at Divisol. A sales transformation project was the first project I took on because before then, no one was given responsibility over the sales function. Everyone was in the trenches fighting, hand to mouth, month to month. No one was thinking strategically about how we can operate. So that was a super interesting project. And like I said, a lot of stuff had to be kind of undone and rebuilt. And that's a lot of what I talk about on the sales for startup programs that I do for you guys.
Yeah. And you know what? I would echo that 100% because if you told me what did I learn personally from, or what great things I've learned, one of
Yeah.
the two things that I can tell you about is definitely this long-term strategic vision. How do you get there?
Mm.
And number two was, the appetite for failure.
It's an emotional roller coaster as a business owner, right? Especially in the early days. And I was having one of my days where I was feeling a little bit negative, and so she was, yeah, just playing the other role and bringing me back up. And she was explaining that, look, all the hard work you put into, all the relationships that we formed already, the conversations you're now having with companies, we're now having rather. Um, Look, when the bubble bursts, we're going to be covered in work. We probably won't be able to handle that much, which would be a good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, being tenacious in your approach and staying true to the course. And as long as you're doing the right things and there's a strategy behind what you're doing, it'll come right.
No, I 100% agree. Like, I think what people need to understand is not only focus, but you need to stick
Mm.
to it, even if it's still not solidified. But you need to stick to the ideas because,
Yeah.
especially you go sit down and talk to decision makers, and everybody
Mm.
is gonna try to talk you into doing something else for them.
Yeah,
Give me
I
this
love
role,
that
give
actually,
me
and it's
that
quite
role.
interesting. You think, well, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, and it's very easy. I can be taken, of course, very easy in those conversations, but which is why, for me, it's been super important to have brought other people on board to the business at a board level, because I've got someone to keep me in check to some extent, and that really kind of helps, because if you're just on your own, and we discussed this before at the boot camp, when you guys are looking to invest in companies, it's exponentially more risky to invest in a company where there's just one founder, because there's no one to sense check any ideas, right?
Yeah, and exactly. And I'm gonna ask you, uh,
Yeah.
what is your BHAG or what is your recruitment agency's BHAG? Can you shed some more light on that?
Yeah, sure. It's to be truly global, right? To be a global IT sales recruitment organization. So anyone that works in sales leadership in the IT industry. So IT for me, just to be clear, spans actually 6 industries. So the IT channel I'm specifically talking about, that spans IT and services, computer software, computer and network security, computer networking, internet and telecoms. So anyone in a commercial role within these industries globally should know who we are. So either they use us to recruit or they come to us if they're looking for a job.
Nice, nice. And so, out of curiosity, how do you how do you feed the pipeline with candidates?
From a candidate perspective, look, we've kind of mapped the market in its entirety to some extent. So certainly in this region, as far as commercial roles go, and just to clarify, what that means is, um, we know how many people are occupy certain positions, and the key thing here is, again, in this particular region, job titles are fairly fluid or loose, should we say. A sales manager in one company does something completely different to a sales manager in another. So we focus more on kind of skill sets and responsibility levels rather than just job titles, let's say. But the key thing, I think, for us, because of what we do with our engagements for both candidates and clients, not only do we have the market mapped, and we have about, I think it's 87.2% of the market in our database. We've got a response rate of just over 92%, which is key. And what I mean by that is, we can pick up the phone or drop an email and they'll get back to us. And that's what you need, right? It's pointless having a database of 100,000 people if no one picks up, if no one answers your call. It's just not valuable at all, right?
Your points are very valid, and people are always looking for better opportunities. And I promised everybody, and I promised you that I'm gonna ask you this curveball question. So, if you had any superpower, what would that be? Or if
Mm.
you want to mimic a superhero, who would that be?
Ooh, those are curveball questions. Superpowers. Um, Well, when I was a kid, I was always trying to move things with my mind. I did like the idea of telekinesis, or telekinetic powers. That's actually pretty cool. Um, but the thing is, now I think of a thing, so I think, how can I make something commercially viable? Right?
So you're the
So
salesman, eh? Salesman,
yeah,
salesman.
super, super salesman.
Super salesman, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'd want to be able to jump in and out of the future very quickly, so I could see when Bitcoin is going to collapse.
I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon, anyway. So,
No.
the last time it crashed, I think I was in an elevator with my brother in Dubai, and
Yeah.
I kid you not,
Mm.
like two, I'd like to say senior citizens, were asking about what is the price of Bitcoin, and I looked at my brother and I said, we need to sell now. You know what I mean? Because if like, and these people
Yeah.
really came from the beach, and like, so they're not in
Yeah.
that whole idea of
Yeah.
investing in Bitcoin. And I actually
Yeah.
do have a Bitcoin story for you that I want to tell even my audience.
Go on. Yeah.
So I in 2010, or I think I can't remember what exact date, I went to a cryptocurrency at that time called alternative money or alternative currency
Okay.
or something. It was here in Dubai. It was in a hotel, and they, at that time I was an entrepreneur, and when you're an entrepreneur, you're poor. So they invited me to this. I'm like, you know what? I'll go see what they're talking about and get a free meal.
Yeah. Why not?
And
Like that.
I think at that time Bitcoin was $10 or something like that, or $11.
Yeah. Okay.
And they said,
Wow.
just because you signed up and you came up, everybody gets 2 free Bitcoins. So there's a guy on our table who really believed in this, and you know what I mean. And now apparently he's laughing, and he's like, "Guys, listen, I have coupons for I'm not gonna say the name of the pizza place in Dubai, a famous pizza place,
Yeah.
for 2 free large pizzas if you give me your Bitcoins." And I'm like, I'm like, I just got a meal. I'm getting another meal for free, and this is something that I don't even know what they're talking about. I'm like, here.
Yeah.
So I gave him 2 Bitcoin. And then, the first time it went up to like 20K, I remember when I looked at my brother and I'm like, that was a good $40,000 pizza that we had. Anything else you want to say before we wrap?
Jumping in and out of the future, I think that's the superpower.
Nice.
Anything else? I don't know, but there was something you and I were talking about the other week, and that was like, I guess, advice to other people that are looking at becoming entrepreneurs or looking at starting their own business, right? And you were mentioning, what do you think are the kind of traits of an entrepreneur? And I think that is obviously worth talking about. For me, the first one, we've already kind of touched on it. One is an ability to plan without procrastinating, which I struggle with to some extent, I'll be honest. Because obviously you can plan and plan and plan and plan and plan, but the reality is you can't wait till all the lights are green before you leave the house, right? There's got to be some point at which you get started, but you need a plan to execute. So doing that, I think, is key. Second, and this really comes from one of the values of our business, actually, to be action oriented, but that's have a tenacious mindset. Be persisting in excellence. Don't be easily dispelled, right? You've got a goal, go for it, and don't let anybody get in your way, right?
Yeah.
And then finally, for me, is be willing to pick up the phone, and that, I mean, there can be many situations as an entrepreneur where you need to pick up the phone, right? That can be to pick up the phone to ask for help, guidance from a peer, a mentor, a family member. You may need to ask for money at times, and you'll certainly need to ask for sales, right? So you've got to be willing to pick up the phone. If you're not, that's going to certainly hinder your progress.
I agree. And I think that asking part, I think people struggle with the ask. Even asking for a contact to call or opening a door.
Yeah.
Some people really struggle with that. You know what I mean? And I keep telling people, what's the worst thing to happen? They say no, you move on, right? So, well, you heard it here. We have a hashtag called Real Talk No Nonsense. Please follow us there. Richie, thank you very much for your time.
An absolute pleasure, buddy.
Yes, until next time we speak, just keep it on your mind. Where is my money? In all cases, thank you very much, everybody. Take care till the next time.
See you, buddy. Take care. Bye bye.